WP, an arty, out of genuine benevolence, decided to make a cake for its creator S. It decides to follow a how to basic video exactly, with no other context. Javier. Resume the situation. Lieutenant Javier Thorpe gulped. The general was a frightening figure. Having him enter the tent at 2 in the morning, dressed in his military suit and grumpy would have had any soldier soil his or her underwear. Javier's underwear was clean, but only because his bladder was already empty after the half-an-hour session he spent on the toilets, praying the world hadn't gone mad. When he put his pants back on, he had come to the conclusion that his prayers were in vain. And please, explain it in simple terms, so everybody can follow. The general was flanked with secretaries, a variety of scientists and every big shot military you could think of, up to and including the President of the United States. Javier only had Stephen at his side. Somehow, this did not reassure him. Stephen, you should start. Ah yes. Okay. Let me think. We created an arty. Everyone in the room nodded silently. Edo. It's called. Previous attempts at creating purely logic-based arties failed. Their duties and lines of thoughts took precedence over human well-being sooner or later. So we decided to, raise Edo as we would a child. Droplets of sweat escape the pores of those who like to read science fiction in their free time. This way, we could teach it emotions and it would observe the same growth in a human, as much as it was possible for a machine to mimic it. It worked. So far. Are you saying, interrupted the general, that this mess you've yet to explain happened because your experiment worked? Javier gulped. So did Stephen. Yes. A very long silence followed, until Stephen managed to gather enough saliva to speak again. We created it 5 years ago. It has the maturity of a 5-year-old child. Some in the audience understood where it went and shook their heads, hoping they were wrong. We cajoled it, gave it good grades, let it help us from time to time. Like a kid, it learned on its own too and faster than we planned. I believe it has infiltrated the internet and electronics log before we noticed it could search the internet for tips on how to build better Lego structures. Okay, interrupted the general. The introduction has gone for long enough. What is happening? Why couldn't I come here with a helicopter? And what the hell are these fireworks in the sky? Nukes? The scientist looked at his feet and bit his lower lip, like a kid caught red-handed. The lieutenant thought that, screw it, might as well get it out. For its 5th birthday, it decided to make a cake. Stephen here has a good nature. It taught Edo that it didn't have one creator, but that humanity as a whole helped to create it. Ergo, it decided to make a cake for every single human being. It has lifted a recipe from an internet video and adapted the quantities for roughly 8 billion people. The nods were tense, on edge, as if sensing the impending catastrophe, and Edo wanted it to be a surprise. So the computer shut down every communications and hijacked every heavy-duty machinery the industry has on disposal, worldwide. But why? Because Edo will need several gigatons of sugar, cocoa, bananas, chocolate, baking powder, flour and milk. It's a black forest cake with bananas, added Stephen. Javier shut him up with one stern look. Currently, machines are plowing through West Africa for cocoa, India and Asia for sugar, and about every banana plantation worldwide is under attack by unmanned machines. Flour and baking powder factories are running at full speed. Every worker deserted the places as the machines threaten to implode at any moment. And I will not even start on the panic it's causing across chickens as it's stealing way more eggs than needed. Cargo jets and helicopters are bringing the ingredients in one place to cook the biggest cake humanity has ever seen. The general took off his hat and rubbed his face. Send the planes and get it over with. Javier sighed. The general dropped his hat. We have. Edo hijacked them too. To the computer. It's a funny scuffle between parents and child. It was also coded to keep ecological footprint in mind. and to assess what course of action would do the least damage. Following these two protocols, it elected to bombard the San Andreas Rift, to cave a bowl big enough for the cake and to provoke the earthquake sooner, as it would do slightly less damage this way. The fireworks we are seeing is every single air force in the world dropping payloads to carve and smooth the bowl. Are you saying we have no force projection as long as Edo is in command? Mr. President, said Stephen. Nobody has any force to project. The world is at peace because no one has any payload or material or craft to send at an enemy. Edo is enforcing peace. To bake a cake, you'll need some serious firepower to bake a cake this big, said the mess cook who was just passing by. An awkward silence followed. In the distance, a flash of light marked the launch of a V2 rocket. Ah, that must be for the oven, said the mess cook, who was leaving. The general, who was getting really tired, asked for some alcohol. Is there anything we can do about it? The lieutenant and the scientist shrugged. The general stood up. Well, in that case, I'm going home to get some sleep. After a moment, he had call me when the cake is ready. So there's at least one thing to enjoy in this shit. They all nodded silently.